Islander fans got their first look at Matthew Schaefer on the ice in an Islanders uniform, and the team added another big free agent, this one from Russia. We'll talk about that impact and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad that you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to talk about. The Islanders wrapped up prospect camp with the blue and white scrimmage. We'll have some key takeaways, including the very first appearance of Matthew Schaefer on the ice in an Islanders jersey. The Islanders go out and sign a key free agent from the KHL, and we'll talk a little bit more about the direction that Matthew Darche is taking this team in. So plenty to discuss here on today's show. Let's start with the blue and white scrimmage. It took place Wednesday evening. It was a sellout crowd, a standing room only crowd for the first time in 5 years. The Islanders having this prospects camp and the blue and white scrimmage in July. Great to see. And in the end, it's the white team with a 4-0 win over the blue team. They played 2 20-minute periods followed by a shootout. White team winning the game, winning the shootout, but realistically, the outcome itself was not the key. And you know, the goals, you had Luca Romano with a tip-in to open the scoring. Great to see Quinn Finley get a goal. So that was the second goal. And, you know, again, a beautiful goal by Brandon Chabrier. That was the third goal that went in off the foot of Danik LaRue. And Callie Odelius with an empty netter to end everything. But Quinn Finley, great to see that. The game was broadcast on the Islanders' official website. And again, it was just good to see. And some players did stand out. Big deal for Matthew Schaefer, because this was the first time he was on the ice in a game-like situation since sustaining the broken collarbone back in December. And, you know, here's what he had to say. I've been dying to get back to it and play a game. I love playing hockey. Practices are fun, but games are even better. It's amazing. And if my dad and brother were here, they would have been like, wow, this is almost home. I've never been here on the island. It's crazy to see how much the fans are behind you. So he looked good. The skating looked good. Quinn Finley, he was buzzing out there. It was great to see him. He showed his speed. Again, something that Islander fans and everydayers know. We've been talking about the fact that this team needs to get faster. Well, Quinn Finley has got some of that speed. And also, he ended up breaking up a 2-on-1, so that was really good. And Tristan Lennox, along with Burke Hood, they share the shutout, and a highlight reel move, basically, because Lennox stopping Cole Yzerman on a breakaway, also stopped Danny Nelson's really hard shot, so that was good to see. Victor Eklund out there, playing a solid game and looking really good in the shootout. It was just great to see. And Daniil Prokhorov brought in from Russia. He made some plays. I think that was really good to see. It was just overall a beautiful thing to see that some of these prospects were out there doing their thing and playing on the ice. You get a first-hand view of them. And again, it's a rookie scrimmage. It is not an NHL game, but it's a step up from playing in juniors, playing in college. Then preseason will be another step up. You'll have another step up when the regular season starts. And then obviously Stanley Cup playoff action takes it to the higher level. But it was just great to see. And I think the other thing that has been encouraging, and it's not just the fact that it was standing room only, it's a practice rink. It doesn't seat a lot of people, but fan enthusiasm appears to be returning to the Islanders. And it's going to take time for this team to reach the goals that Matthew Darche talked about. But in July, seeing these guys out there on the ice, having fun, working hard, showing off their skills. And again, this is not full contact, ice room on the ice is hard to come by. That's not what this really was. But you look for in a scrimmage like this, you look for the skills. You look for the talent. What are these guys capable of doing? What are they showing us? How do they look out there? And what are they capable of doing? And we saw a lot of it, the skating, as I mentioned, of Schaefer, which was fantastic to see. I think there were some great moments for Kashawn Aitchison. I mentioned Prokhorov, Romano, Burke Hood. So many of these guys just had little moments. And that's what you're looking at and looking for at this point. To see it, to see Eklund and Aitchison and Schaefer out there, it gives you reasons for hope. And the enthusiasm, there's a feeling that has returned to the Islanders that hasn't been there, especially for the past couple of years. Yeah, okay, injuries were a big reason why this team didn't meet expectations last year, but it's also this. There weren't a lot of prospects. And to the credit of Lou Lamoriello, adding Yzerman last year in the draft, who fell to him surprisingly, but adding him was sort of the first baby step of getting a little hope back for the future. But when you have 3 first-round picks this year, you have 2 first-round picks next year. You have Yzerman and Finley and Danny Nelson. All of a sudden, we're not just a team that's hanging on in the muddy middle to, try to squeak into the wild card spot, knowing that as the roster ages, there aren't players left or aren't players coming who can fill in those spots and give you scoring or physicality or defense or speed, all of those different factors. All of a sudden, there's a prospect pool that tells you in 3 years, let's say, when some of these guys are NHL ready, this team is going to be pretty darn competitive. And there's hope, and there's reasons for hope. Even while I would have preferred, for example, to trade Kyle Palmieri at the deadline, and that's not a knock on Palmieri. I like Kyle Palmieri. I think he's still a good player. I think he's been a great Islander, but signing him to a 2-year deal with 1 year of a full no trade clause, again, it's something that fills in that gap between the mediocrity we're at now and the hope that these young players will give in 2 to 3 years. So you have Palmieri on the Islanders for this year, maybe next year as well. He's still a solid player. And then your Yzermans and your Nelsons and your Finleys and your Schaefers, and all these guys start to come up and play on the island. It makes sense. There's a big picture feeling here that actually makes a certain amount of sense. And it's great to see. The scrimmage was great to see. The enthusiasm was there for the fans. And I mean, here we are, early July. Training camp is still a little more than 2 months away, but I can't wait. I'm enthusiastic about it. And that alone speaks volumes. All right. Matthew Darche, not done. Signed an RFA, signed a Russian free agent who a lot of teams were competing for. We'll talk about that and the impact that it has on the team. Plus, we'll look back for our Islanders' birthday of the day of a defenseman who helped the Islanders in the 70s and was traded away just before the team got to the Stanley Cup final. We'll talk about his impact on the team. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And look, one thing I love is having an app where all of your money management things are just right there in front of you. You go to one place and it's easy to manage your money. And if you share finances with someone, a family member, a significant other, Monarch helps you guys stay on the same page. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Free agency was in day 2. Matthew Darche still busy, and I think Islander fans will be happy about that. The bigger news, the Islanders signing KHL sniper Maxim Shabanov. And this is a 1-year entry-level deal. I don't have the exact terms yet. But here is a guy who, first of all, was very productive in the KHL the last 2 years. 25 goals, 50 points in 64 games. 2 years ago, this past year, 23 goals, 67 points in 65 games. Again, not easy to be a point per game player in the KHL. And in the playoffs, 10 goals, 20 points in 21 playoff games. The knock on Shabanov, he's only 5'8", about 156 pounds, but he is dynamic. And if you go on YouTube and look at what he has been able to do as far as his speed, his shot, his passing, that really stands out. And yeah, we just had Ruslan Ishkakov, who was a smaller Russian who didn't exactly pan out for the Islanders a couple of years ago, who's back in the KHL. But look, last year, 12 goals, 29 points for Ishkakov in 60 games. you've got a whole lot better statistically for Shabanov, where he had 11 more goals and 27 more assists. Sure, 5 extra games, but not a big deal. So again, you're adding another player. Does he probably, much like Maxim Shabanov, plays on the island this year? And let's face it, all of a sudden, you're looking at a team with a glut of players. And something's got to give, right? I mean, something's got to change somewhere for the New York Islanders, because you can't have that many players out there. And, you know, the Islanders yesterday added Matthew Highmore. Happened after we recorded the show. That's a 1-year contract at the minimum of $775,000. He can play center or left wing. Highmore, I think, just again, even if he ends up playing down in Bridgeport, and he split time last year between Ottawa and Belleville, their AHL affiliate, he's another, bottom 6, 4th line kind of guy, 3rd line kind of guy. He gives you depth at 29. That's good, but Shabanov is a whole different animal. He's just about to enter his prime. And you know what's even sweeter? Who are the 3 teams who are allegedly in the fight for Shabanov? Oh, yeah. The other 2 teams besides the Islanders, the finalists, the Rangers, and the Flyers. So you beat out 2 division rivals to sign this kid. And let's face a little fact here, okay? Here is a kid who signs with the Islanders over the Rangers and the Flyers. Now, the fact that the Islanders have a nice group of Russian players certainly does help, but there are more moves coming now. And the Islanders are starting to be like, you win this battle over the Rangers and the Flyers. That's a start. It's showing that there are players who want to come here. And no, it's not the same as signing, Nikolai Ehlers or Mitch Marner. But hopefully this is the start of more players wanting to come here and getting here and wanting to be New York Islanders. And then, again, Darche getting more things done. Emil Heineman, who they just acquired as part of that Noah Dobson trade. He signs a contract with the Islanders. It's a $1.1 million AAV deal for 2 years. And now you lock him up. So if you look at this depth chart now, and we will go into more detail about this in the future, but you've got Barzal, Horvat, Lee, Pajot, Palmieri, Drouin, Holmstrom, Duclair, Engvall, Cizikas, Heineman, Shabanov, Callum Ritchie, Matthew Highmore, Kyle McLean, Maxim Shabanov, Mark Gatcomb. There's still RFAs that need to be re-signed, but that is a crowded forward group. And then on defense, Romanov, Polak, Pelech, Mayfield, D'Angelo, Boqvist, Isaiah George, Ethan Bear. Plenty of guys to choose from on that list. And there is depth. There is room to move guys out before we reach the season starting. And that could be freeing up cap space. That could help get the team younger. I don't know about, trading guys away doesn't usually make you faster or more skilled, but freeing up cap space, getting younger, making moves that set up other moves. The beautiful thing about this is that every piece, every move that Matthew Darche seems to make seems to be part of a bigger picture. It's not just putting out fires. It's not just, oh my gosh, we have no cap room. I've got to trade Josh Bailey and throw in a second round pick. That's not what it is. It's not trading away Nick Leddy or Taves to just free up cap space because you're stuck. It's making moves that are part of a bigger picture with goals and things that you want to accomplish. And that is really good to see. There's still work to be done. I mentioned Maxim Shabanov still doesn't have a contract. That has to happen. Mark Gatcomb, if he's going to stay, he doesn't have a contract yet. But boy, moves to be made, some possible players who could be traded away, but there is change in the air on the island. We've got more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about the changes Matthew Darche is making, the direction he's taking this team in, and as I said, probably not done for the offseason. We'll talk about that. We'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. All that still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. I got to say, I really like the way Matthew Darche is putting this team together. And it's a long-term thinking process. It's a long-term goal. I like the fact that Darche is not going out and trying to sign the biggest fish out there this offseason, but is adding pieces, small pieces that make sense. Shabanov, for example, low risk, high reward. It's a 1-year entry-level deal. If it doesn't work out, you could send him to Bridgeport. You could send him back to the KHL. You could just say, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. But if it does work out, if he gives you another player who is fast, skilled, and once he adjusts to life in North America and the narrower rink and the NHL style of play, he could be a middle six guy. And the Islanders need a guy with that kind of skill. Signing Drouin to a 2-year contract. Signing Palmieri, even if Lou initially made that move, and even if that move, again, I didn't think was the best idea, it's a 2-year deal. These are the players who are going to fill in and keep the Islanders competitive while the kids learn. And, you know, we don't know. If you remember that list I went over where there were 8 defensemen, that didn't include Matthew Schaefer. Schaefer would be a 9th. Again, you could trade them away. Matthew Schaefer, 17 years old, turns 18 in September. Is he going to play in the NHL this year? I don't think he has anything at all to prove if he goes back to juniors. College might make sense. I don't think these guys, most of them are going to be in Bridgeport right away. I don't know if the AHL makes sense for Schaefer. Send him to college for 1 year, maybe. Give him a look-see in training camp and, you know, see where he ends up. But here's the thing. All of a sudden, you don't get the feeling that these guys are going to be rushed. Be patient. I see the enthusiasm that Islander fans have over this new direction, over the fact that Matthew Darche is starting to create a team in his image. And I think, based on the comments I'm getting on YouTube, based on the way that fans are talking on social media, people I've spoken to, Islander fans, after being stuck in the muddy middle for as long as they have been, will be willing to accept another season or two of, let's say, mediocrity in order to not rush these kids, these prospects, and with the knowledge that you very well could have a team that potentially could contend for a few years, 5 years, 6 years. And that's what Matthew Darche said he wanted to do when he came here. Sometimes, look, there are some foods that you cook quick. And there are some foods that need to get the flavor out, you need to simmer. You need to put them in the crock pot for the whole day. Islander fans will be patient if they know the talent, the Schaefers, the Isermans, if they know that this is down the road, 2 years away, 3 years away, we could have something really, really special. And hearing Matthew Darche say, and everydayers know I've discussed this, just because you have the cap space doesn't mean you have to spend it. Or you got to think, what's going to happen next year? Who's up for a contract the year after? Who's going to be an unrestricted free agent that maybe I could bring in? If I don't spend the money on a mediocre guy this year, maybe I'll have more money next year to spend on a really good UFA. I have a feeling that Matthew Darche, not this offseason, maybe not even next offseason, but in the next 2 to 4 years, is finally going to end the Islanders' jinx when it comes to the Islanders have never signed an elite free agent. I think it's going to happen. I think when the pieces start to come together, that Matthew Darche will get a quality free agent. It may not be a Mitch Marner level guy, but if it's a Brock Besser level or a Nikolai Ehlers level guy, whoever's going to be there in 2 years or next year, I think if this is done right and a few things break the Islanders' way, the Islanders may very well be able to sign a big free agent when the time is right. I like the approach that I'm seeing from Matthew Darche, the patience, the big picture thinking, the addition of yet another talented Russian, making the team more difficult to play against, faster skating, more physical, high character effort players in addition. I am happy with the way this offseason has gone. From the time the Islanders announced they were moving on from Lou Lamoriello, hired Matthew Darche, won the draft lottery, traded to end up with 3 first-round picks this year. It's been one good thing after another, and I'm happy to see it. Hopefully, it's the start of a great new era. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and today is the 72nd birthday of former Islanders defenseman Dave Lewis. The Kindersley, Saskatchewan native, 6'2", 200 pounds, which was really big back then. Drafted in the 3rd round by the Islanders in 1973. Also drafted in the 3rd round of the WHA draft by the Alberta Oilers. Made his NHL debut with the Isles in 73-74. Stayed with the team through the 79-80 trade deadline. And was part of the deal that got Butch Goring to the Island. It was Dave Lewis and Billy Harris who were in that deal. Played for the Kings through the 82-83 season, then came back to play for the Devils and finished his career in Detroit for 2 years. Lewis also went on to coach as an assistant and eventually a head coach in Detroit. Was actually active in the NHL till 2013, 2014. Played 1,008 career NHL games, only 36 goals, 223 points, and 953 penalty minutes. He was more of a defensive defenseman. One of his better games as an Islander, March 9th, 1977. The Islanders visiting the Omni in Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Flames. Chico Resch and Phil Meir are the goalies. And in this game, with the Islanders facing the Flames, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Dave Lewis, goes to work. Game tied 2-2. Lewis and Dennis Potvin set up J.P. Parise, and the Islanders take the lead. Then in the third period, Lewis and Dennis Potvin set up Bobby Nystrom. And then later in the third period, Lewis and Ed Westfall set up Jude Drouin, a 3-assist game for Dave Lewis. The Islanders go on to beat the Flames by a score of 6-2. Lewis a +4 to go along with those 3 assists and had 3 shots on goal. A 3-point night for Dennis Potvin, also a goal and 2 assists. But Dave Lewis, an underappreciated physical defensive defenseman, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no off season. We're bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We're setting up a crossover episode with our friends at Locked On Canadiens. So we'll be able to discuss Emil Heineman and what he can bring. And I know Canadian fans have been excited about that. So we will do that nice show setting up for the weekend. And of course, we'll talk about any other Islanders news, notes, and happenings, any signings, whatever the Islanders do, we'll keep you up to date. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.